All right, Solana, we're live for a post-game recap of Inter Miami versus Atlanta United. Inter Miami absolutely dominated this game 4-0. And I'm going to be honest with you, we're going to break down what we saw, what happened, but I was a little nervous at first because the way Atlanta United is playing, they played the last two matches because I watched them play against LAFC, very defensive-oriented, really trying to be a thorn in the side of their opposing team and just kind of make the game ugly. And I didn't really know how Inter Miami were going to counter that, but they were able to pull off a great win. What is your instant reaction to this match?
I mean, I'm elated, right? I'm elated because they finally got a clean sheet. It had been, I don't know how many matches since Inter Miami had gotten a clean sheet. They secured themselves a first round home field advantage in the playoffs, and now they have one more game against Nashville to, possibly secure a second seed, depending on what happens in the Cincinnati game. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy. I couldn't be happier for Messi. 2 goals, puts him in the lead for the Golden Boot ahead of Buanga, who's away on international duty. So I guess the operation, Messi playing for Inter Miami during international break worked.
Yeah, it did. And I remember you saying that to me a couple days ago, that was a possibility that they could potentially Messi could come back and play in this game because they need him, right? That he could miss I can't remember who Argentina played last night. Or maybe they played Puerto Rico next, or they played them last night.
Venezuela last night. Yeah.
Venezuela last night, but he didn't play in that game, so he could play in this match, and they needed him, and you can see what he was able to do in this match. And we'll talk about the standings here in a little bit because I do want to talk about that as well. As of right now, Inter Miami is in third place. They're tied with Cincinnati for second place, but Cincinnati technically has the tiebreaker because they have one more win than Inter Miami. So they still need some things to go their way to get that second place spot on decision day next weekend. But as far as this match, who was the key player, or let's start with the first half. Who was the player that stuck out to you in the first half for Inter Miami? Like who was someone you were impressed with?
I mean, obviously Messi, right? I thought Messi was, trying so hard to find the back of the net. He was attacking relentlessly. He was looking for his own shot, trying to create, and he had a number of shots in that first half. So I thought Messi, who there was a lot of talk throughout the week of, he was with Argentina. He was practicing with Argentina. Why wasn't there this clarity as to who he was going to play with? He didn't practice with Inter Miami all week, but that's what surprised me the most. He didn't practice with his team. He came out and he showed everybody not only his commitment to this club, but his commitment to his team and his teammates. And he was out there playing at 110%.
Yeah, the player that impressed me the most in the first half, I think, was Sergio Busquets. I thought that he had a hell of a game, especially since this is his last regular season game he's going to play at I guess in Fort Lauderdale, Chase Stadium. Yes. What was I trying to call it? Like Pink Stadium, or what was, didn't it used to have an old name too?
It used to be called Drive Pink.
Drive Pink, exactly. Drive Pink. I actually got a license plate for that on my wife's car. But Drive Pink Stadium, Chase Stadium. Last game he's playing regular season there, I thought he was incredible. Some of the passes, the vision he had tonight was vintage. Sergio Busquets, I thought he was incredible. I thought he was incredible. Had one of the better games he's had all season long. I'll be honest with you. I don't. As bad as Atlanta was tonight, and Keishon said Atlanta is hot garbage. They are pretty bad. I would honestly find it hard. Okay, well, there's maybe one or two players, but most of the starting 11 played pretty damn good for Inter Miami tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, you go ahead and you look at the FOT mob or whatever rating you want to see, and everybody's in green, right? Everybody's in green. Even the goalie Rocco Rios Novo, who had a couple of outstanding saves, both in the first half and in the second half. Even though Atlanta, didn't really attack too much, they did have a couple of opportunities both in each half. But Inter Miami played strong enough defensively, which has been one of their big weaknesses, and that's where they were missing most of their players in this international window.
Who would you say who had the worst performance for Inter Miami in the first half?
I think it was Yannick Bright. I think, he's a player who should have been playing a lot more central. I saw him going out wide a lot of times. I saw him not connecting on his passes. He just didn't seem like the normal Yannick Bright that we've seen all season playing for Inter Miami. So for me, it was Yannick Bright who had a subpar first half.
Yeah, I thought Teddy Allende, he's normally bad. Maybe I've just been conditioned to not even rate him because of how bad he normally is. But yeah, I thought Yannick Bright struggled a little bit in the first half. I was very impressed. I thought Cello was, nothing special. I was very impressed with Lujan and Toto Alvarez in this game. I thought they had a solid performance. Now, to be fair, though, Atlanta United's attack is so bad. They really weren't challenged that much in this game. But the first half, I don't think there was really any bad performances. I thought it was pretty solid. And then obviously Messi was able to score in the 39th minute to open up his account to officially take the Golden Boot race lead in Major League Soccer, which is, good for him. And it looks like he probably is going to win that. We'll talk about that as well at the end. But we go into the half 1-0 Atlanta, Inter Miami over Atlanta United. And I thought to myself, okay, if Inter Miami were able to break down this defensive system of Atlanta United this early without, waiting until they get worn out, that the wheels are probably going to fall off. Atlanta United's probably going to get beaten pretty badly. I didn't know if it was going to be really like as bad as what it was, but I thought maybe 2-3-0. But the second half, the wheels really fell off. And Messi had a beautiful pass to Jordi Alba with the chip over Hibbert, who I will say, Solana, Hibbert was the best player for Atlanta United in this game in general. Without him, this game could have probably been 6 or 7-0.
Absolutely. I mean, even the announcers on TV were saying it multiple times, at least on the Spanish broadcast, the one that I watch. Hibbert, if it wasn't for Hibbert, it would have gotten really ugly. The young goaltender, goalkeeper who's been starting over Brad Guzan the last number of games. I mean, he had a couple of saves in the first half, point blank on Messi that he was able to get out. So, hats off to Hibbert and a fantastic game. And we're saying that, and he still let in 4 goals, but it was nonetheless a fantastic game from the Atlanta goalkeeper.
This is a good example of just because you can see doesn't mean you had a bad performance. Like you watch that game and you just know he did not play bad. And if anything, he played pretty well with everything considered, and he saved them from it being even uglier. But, let's move on to the third goal. Luis Suárez is able to get this rebound and just score an absolute golazo off the rebound. Someone said in the chat I think it was Mr. said this during the game that, no matter how bad his legs are, he's still able to strike the ball really well. And he did, man. He scored an incredible, incredible goal. One of the better ones he scored all season. And they're able to go up 3-0. What did you think about that Luis Suárez goal?
I mean, your favorite player, right? La Tortuga getting into the back of the net. Obviously, I'm happy for him, right? He needs to start finding some of his rhythm back heading into the playoffs. He, after he was suspended for those 3 games for the spitting incident, he came back a little bit slow. And I saw him moving very well today. I saw him getting into spaces, trying to find Messi to get him his goal. And I was happy for Luis Suárez. I thought, he showed that no matter how old he gets, he still has a little bit of magic left in those knees. and left in those boots. And I mean, I was perplexed. I thought the ball had gone out of bounds, Will. I didn't think it had gone in because it ricocheted off the back post and kind of came out of the goal. And I was like, well, I guess it hit the back of the, where the announcements are, and it just came back. I didn't realize it was a goal until they all went and started hugging him.
No, I agree. I thought so as well. I thought something was going to happen either out of bounds or there's going to be a foul inside the box or, you just never know what's going to happen. But real quick, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you give us a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos, live watch-alongs, post-game recaps, and everything MLS moves related. Make sure you guys hit that little bell notification if you haven't already. Mr. kept bringing this up during the game. We had an over-under. We're talking about when Toto Alvarez was going to get booked in this game just because he plays so erratic. But he said biggest indictment of Atlanta's attack is Alvarez not getting booked at all.
Well, it goes to show that they weren't aggressive enough, targeting Toto Alvarez. Because funny enough, Will, I mentioned it on my live stream that I did yesterday when the announcement of Messi was going to play went off. I went to the game against Chicago and I made a bet with a buddy of mine that Toto Alvarez would get booked. And I told him, I'll bet you a beer that he gets booked. And he goes, okay. And I said, but 2 beers if he gets booked in the first half. And nonetheless, 43rd minute comes along, boom, he got booked, yellow card, and I was able to win those 2 beers. And I thought, no doubt, today as a starter, he was going to get booked and we were going to get to see Ryan Saylor a lot earlier than when he came on.
Yeah, I think that Toto Alvarez and Lujan didn't really make any noise today, which is a good thing for a center back. Normally if you're having a quiet game, it means you're not doing anything wrong and they're not having any chances. Joe says anything for the beers. So I thought that the center back duo was pretty good. This is kind of a makeshift lineup. Like this isn't like the ideal starting 11 for him. That's what made me a little nervous. I want to ask you about Rios Novo. Okay. There's a couple other things I want to touch on too, but I thought he had a pretty good game, like not screwing up. We talk about Atlanta's attack is dreadful. They didn't really threaten them too much, but would you start Rios Novo for the rest of the season? Or are you still an Ustari guy?
Look, I'm the type of guy who says you have to go with the hot hand. And the hot hand today is Rios Novo, right? He played the last game, Inter Miami won. He had 3 saves tonight. Didn't concede any goals, was very good, playing kind of like that sweeper keeper role that Ustari plays. So I have to say you have to continue to go with the hot hand. And I start Rios Novo next week against Nashville and see what he gives you. If it's a stinker, you can always go back to Ustari, but you know what you're going to get to Ustari. So I think you need to give Rios Novo these minutes and get him a little bit of confidence going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they would do that though, just because that game is important for their seeding. They have to win that game if they want to guarantee that they're going to be the second seed in the Eastern Conference. But I do think that he has looked really good this year when he played. I'm pretty sure he was a starter, and was it Leagues Cup or was it the Club World Cup?
It was the Leagues Cup.
Leagues Cup, yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember because Ustari had a good Club World Cup showing, so it was Leagues Cup. But he looked pretty good in Leagues Cup, man. They made it to the final. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought tonight was more impressive than I thought it was going to be. I just thought they were firing on all cylinders. And I said this before the game started that you want to see them have a good send-off match for Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, and I think that they did that. You saw the Argentine teammates of Messi sitting field side or right there to watch the game. I think it was Otamendi, it was Paredes. I can't remember who the other 2 were. Oh, Rodrigo de Paul, and then there was a 4th guy. I couldn't tell who that was. But all his teammates were sitting there, field side. They balled out. I think they did them just with the way they played. And one thing I did think about tonight, though, and I've been thinking this all season long, though, Solana, is just how reliant they are on Messi and how, if he's not playing well, how bad this team is. I mean, you saw tonight 3 of the goals. He accounted for 3 of the goals tonight, or contributing 3 goals tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen it throughout the season, right? Well, we've seen it throughout the season where this team is very, very dependent on Messi. When teams play a low block against Inter Miami and they clog the middle and Messi doesn't have room to operate, that's when Inter Miami gets into trouble and they don't have trouble finding the back of the net. And so in the playoffs, if teams are going to play like that against Inter Miami, they're going to have to find a different way to get Messi the ball in open space, because Messi in close space is not as good, obviously, as Messi in open space. And just to go over a couple of stats here, Messi had a 2.49 times goals and assists in this game, 1.5 times goals, 0.99 times assists. I mean, that's unbelievable. A 9.4 rating. And you mentioned a couple of his teammates, right? You mentioned a couple of his Argentine teammates being there. One of them already at Inter Miami. The other one possibly rumored to be coming here in the winter, and that's Nicolas Otamendi.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if they signed him, Otamendi. I mean, obviously he was, like I said, he was field side today. They obviously could use a center back. They have someone that the positions they haven't been able to solidify since Messi's been here. Hell, maybe even since they've been a club, they really haven't had a strong presence at center back. I not consistently. One thing too about Messi though is I don't even think this was his best game. I think that he looked a little tired in some points. He made a couple bad passes, had a couple shots that were weak. And I just think that shows how good he is that even when he's not playing at his best, he's the quality and the class to be able to score a brace and an assist. And I just kept thinking how they need these guys around him to step up and what they can do when that happens. I'm going to be curious to see who does step up. Someone's going to have to step up for this team in the playoffs other than him if they want to go far. It can't just be him doing everything. It's either going to be Suarez or Rodriguez or Salvetti. It's going to have to be somebody, Solana, that's going to step up for this team if they want to go anywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. Today it was Jordi Alba getting a goal and an assist. Obviously, Suarez with a banger. Baltasar had a fantastic game. Sergio Busquets, a fantastic game. And even Fafa Pico, when he came in, he added to the lineup as well. He added value today, and I thought that was important, because as the season has progressed, we've seen the lack of depth that Inter Miami has had on the bench and the problems that it causes when Mascherano starts to move pieces throughout the game. First, he usually doesn't make the right move on the chessboard. That's first of all, right? That's the big issue. And second of all, when he does make the moves, the quality drops extremely between what we saw the first 60 minutes and then when he starts making subs, what we see the rest of the game. So it was big today that the subs worked in Mascherano's favor. Obviously, they were playing against a shorthanded Atlanta team, but nonetheless, this is a statement win, a big win for Inter Miami in front of their home crowd, possibly for the last time at Chase Stadium, definitely for the last regular season home game. We'll see. Will, it's going to be really interesting. I think Matteo Silvetti's having a fantastic U20 World Cup for Argentina. I think he's going to come back at another level, similar to how we saw Diego Gomez come back after he played the U20 World Cup with Paraguay when he was on Inter Miami. So I think it'll be similar to that with Matteo Silvetti. He's going to be in shape, coming off of a good tournament and ready for the playoffs with Inter Miami.
No, I agree with that. And someone asked earlier about Jordi Alba. He looked incredible tonight. I mean, he was good. There were a couple passes that Messi had to him or Busquets had to him where he was a little too slow to get to, but he is almost 37 years old. But you saw the quality when he's able to get on the ball and the crosses he has and just what he's able to do in the attack. We talked about this a little off the phone or off camera. We've talked about this on the phone. After seeing tonight, are you sad to see Jordi Alba go?
Of course, I'm sad to see him go. I think, he'll go down as one of the best left backs to ever play for the club, right? And he only played a short amount of time, but the effect that he had not only on the field but off the field. I've talked to many players off the field, specifically with Noah Allen, and he's been a huge bit positive effect on Noah Allen's career, coaching him and, giving him pointers here and there. And so I think that's where he's been the biggest, not only on the field, because we see that week in and week out what he does for this team, but really off the field is where I think he's made his biggest impact for this Inter Miami team. And yeah, I'm sad to see him go because I'm going to be sad to see him link up with Messi, to see his goals, to see, how he gets mad at the referee and when he goes off on his little fire rants. But, on the flip side, I think this is positive for Inter Miami. I think Inter Miami is finally, trying to tell their fan base, hey, I think we screwed up with this, or not screwed up, but I think we went about this the wrong way. And we might have, came in with too many old players. And I think what they're going to do in the winter is get younger, right? Get rid of Jordi Alba, and it's not really get rid of, but allow them to retire, allow them to go and continue doing something else with their life, and bring in younger players and surround Messi with similar talent, but with younger legs, fresher legs that could run for 90 minutes and not for, 65, 70 that we currently get with the current lineup.
And stay healthy, right? How many hamstring injuries have we seen with Jordi Alba in his tenure at Inter Miami? Which I'm not saying Reguilón is any better because he obviously has an injury bug as well, but he's 9 years younger, 8 years younger. So we'll see with that. Now, real quick before we move on to standings and Golden Boot race and MVP race, I would give this game a 9 out of 10 for Inter Miami. I don't think it was perfect, but I think it was really good. Chat, I'd like to know what you guys think. What would you rate this performance by Inter Miami? Against Atlanta United, 4-0 win. I thought it was an incredible performance by Hibbert for Atlanta United. If not for that, it could have been 6-7-0. I would give this like a 9 out of 10. Nitro Gaming, a friend of mine I met him on Twitter. He says, hello, Lionel Messi is very good. He's pretty good, I'd say. He's not too bad for an old guy. Solana, what would you give this performance out of a 10?
I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. I think I give it the extra half just because they did get a clean sheet. And Inter Miami this year, that's been their Achilles heel, right? Their defense. And they haven't been able to get a clean sheet very often this year, or as often as they did last year. So the fact that they got a clean sheet gives me the extra 0.5, and I give it a 9.5. Big statement win from Inter Miami, a big win to remain in the second place hunt before decision day next week. And Will, before we continue, let me take the time to tell your fans to go ahead and like and subscribe while they're on this chat. Definitely hit the bell notification icon because Will comes out with some fantastic stuff, usually daily, sometimes twice a day. He'll come out with stuff, and you don't want to miss any of that fantastic stuff that he puts out. So definitely like, subscribe, hit the little bell notification, and also follow him on Twitter. Sometimes he gets into some crazy rants, and he cracked me up, man.
I appreciate it. And Solana, I think, is going to join us for the playoffs as well. I think he's going to do these post games with us through at least the 2025 playoffs. Hopefully he does. So I want to pull up the standings right now, and I want to talk about these matchups heading in before we get off here, and talk maybe a little about the Golden Boot race and where things currently stand. Let me pull this up real quick, these standings. I want to make sure I get the right thing. Okay, here we go. All right, so as of right now, Inter Miami and Cincinnati, like I said, are tied for the second place in the Eastern Conference. Cincinnati has the tiebreaker because they have one more win. That's what settles ties in MLS. And Inter Miami play Nashville SC on the road on decision day next Saturday, Solana. That's not an easy place to win. That's not going to be an easy game. Cincinnati is fortunate that they play Montreal, and I think it's even at home. Let me check this real quick. It is at home. So Inter Miami definitely have a harder path to second place and need a lot of help from Cincinnati. But like you said, they're guaranteed to be the third place team now, but it looks like it's going to be difficult for them to be the second place team at this point.
And I think that's okay, right? I think the fact that they can guarantee themselves a first round home field advantage, I think that was important. I think to stay out of that fourth place where they could have to go to New York City FC, and they still might have to go depending on how decision day ends up. I think the key here is to avoid Orlando City, avoid Charlotte. Those are two places, in my opinion, that I wouldn't want to play. One, because Inter Miami has never won in Orlando against Orlando City, and Charlotte because, as we saw this year, they have a really tough time on artificial turf. And they had a very tough time against Charlotte when they played them about a month ago. So those are the two teams that I would want to avoid. But it looks like if things, and it looks like things might end up similar to how they end up today. It looks like we're going to get an Inter Miami Nashville first round matchup. And I think that's going to be must watch TV for MLS fans.
I think there's a good chance, and Nitro Gaming says that if Inter Miami tie FC Cincinnati on points, FC Cincinnati will be ranked higher due to exactly. Yeah, they will be because they have more wins than Inter Miami do.
How do you feel about that, by the way? Because most leagues do goal differential.
Difference. Yeah, I don't know. MLS does a lot of things that are a little weird. I'm not surprised. I mean, I've always thought it's goal difference. It settles ties in the standings, right? That's normally how it should be. They've scored 20 or 14 more goals or they have a 14 goal better difference than Cincinnati does. They've scored, 27 more goals than them this year.
Yep.
But here's what I think is going to happen. I think Inter Miami is going to finish third place because it's going to be tough for them to climb Cincinnati. And I think Orlando is going to finish in sixth place, and we're going to get a Florida derby or whatever the hell the matchup's called. I forgot what they call it. But we're gonna get a Florida matchup in the first round, which is going to be a nightmare scenario. Because if Nashville beats Inter Miami, which could happen, they will jump New York City. I think they'll jump New York City. Well, it depends, I guess, if New York City wins. They can jump New York City. But if Orlando wins and New York, I guess Orlando City, maybe they can't. I guess Orlando City technically can't jump New York City because they have 3 less wins, but they can jump Nashville, or I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. There's so many different scenarios. Either way, I think Orlando City, I've called this for a while. I think Orlando City is going to play Inter Miami in the first round, which would be a nightmare scenario for Inter Miami. And I think we could get a repeat of last year because Inter Miami has just to be honest, a worse team than last year, a worse coach than last year, and honestly, they would have a worse matchup than last year. That's just my opinion.
It's a valid opinion. I think the matchup, and like I said, the two teams I would avoid is Charlotte and Orlando City. Unfortunately, Miami does not play well against Orlando City on the road. No. And the last thing that you want to do is have to have a third game in this first round. If you can avoid having a third game, even though it'll be at home, that's definitely something that Inter Miami is going to want to do. So if they can avoid at all costs, and I'll be lighting as many candles as I have to light, Will, on Saturday to make sure that doesn't happen. But if it does happen, I will tell you this: these guys are playing with a little bit of chip on their back, just because Alba and Busquets are retiring this season. So I'm looking forward to anybody really in that first round, even though those two teams, I wouldn't say scare me a little bit, but they worry me a little bit.
They would scare me just because their pace is not a good matchup for Inter Miami, but we'll see. I'm not saying Inter Miami's out of it. I'm just saying it would not be an ideal situation for them. And it is a little scary, though, that Inter Miami wouldn't control their own destiny in the playoffs as far as home field advantage. They'd have to eventually, if they win and Cincinnati wins and Philadelphia wins, they would eventually have to go on the road and play a knockout game at one of these team stadiums. And it's going to be a tough environment. It's going to be a tough ask. But yeah, I am a little surprised Inter Miami didn't play as, like, I had higher expectations for them at the beginning of the season. I didn't expect them to be third place in the Eastern Conference, but especially considering they finished first with the Supporters Shield last year and Messi only played in 21 games. He's played in like 26 or 27 this year when it's all said and done. You would have thought they would have climbed the standings, or they would have stayed the same, won the Supporters Shield. So that's a little disappointing if you're an Inter Miami fan. But I think that they are going to play Orlando City. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens. We're going to do a watch along for Decision Day for the Eastern and Western Conference next Saturday. Now, I want to talk about the Golden Boot race, okay, and MVP a little bit. So Messi now has 26 goals. He has a 2-goal lead over Denis Bouanga, and he has a game left. Denis Bouanga has a game left. I think Messi's going to win this Golden Boot.
I do too. I think he's going to win the Golden Boot. I think that was one of the reasons that he came back to play with Inter Miami this weekend, not only because they had those big points on the line, but he knew that Denis Bouanga was away with Gabon. I apologize if I mentioned that incorrectly, but he knew that he wasn't going to be playing tonight for LAFC. LAFC play later tonight, right? Or is it tomorrow?
Play tomorrow night.
Sorry about that. Tomorrow night. Yeah. And so, look, I think I don't want to say it's in the bag because I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. I know LAFC plays Colorado next week, and anything can happen when those two teams play. But I think Messi has all but assured this. I think he's all but assured a second consecutive MVP, and I'm willing to almost bet my house on that, Will.
Yeah, so I think that if Messi finishes the top of the Golden Boot race, I think there's a good chance he'll probably win MVP back-to-back seasons. Now, I do think it could hurt him with them not winning the Supporters Shield or even finishing second place or first place in the Eastern Conference. because a lot of times the player on the best team is going to get the MVP nod, like with the highest record. Philadelphia doesn't have a player that's really going to be in contention for that. It's going to come down to 3 players in this league. It's going to come down to Anders Dreyer, who's having an incredible season with San Diego, is an expansion team. It's going to come down to Denny Bouanga because he's in the Golden Boot race as well. And it's going to come down to Lionel Messi. I think that Messi I think he's going to win the Golden Boot race. Yeah, I think that's guaranteed now. Denny Bouanga would have to go crazy in this last game, and Messi would have to not score. He'd have to score a hat trick to beat him.
Yeah, but not only that, I think the argument that Messi didn't win or didn't win the Supporter Shield or didn't even get first place, I think that argument isn't valid. I unfortunately, San Diego FC aren't going to be or they have a chance to be in first place. So maybe Anders Dreyer has that argument in his favor, right? They have 60 points. Vancouver has 63 going into decision day. If they win, and Vancouver loses, they'll be tied for points, but they'll have, in the similar scenarios, Inter Miami and Cincinnati, San Diego will have more wins. So they'll win the Western Conference, trophy for the regular season. But LAFC, I just don't understand, other than the fact that he's had a really good last month. Denny Bouanga, for me, does not belong in the MVP conversation. I know he's up there in terms of the Golden Boot, but how many of those will have been penalties? Because Messi has 26 goals, and I think he only has 1 penalty that he scored. And I don't even think that penalty was in MLS play. So I think he's got 0 penalties this season. So how many of those 24 goals that Denny Bouanga has are penalties? I think 12, right?
I don't know if it's 12, but it's definitely like, I think it's 8, maybe 7 or 8.
Somebody in the chat's definitely going to know that answer, no doubt.
Yeah. I just think, but Denny Bouanga does have, in the last couple of games, I want to say he has like 9 goals in the last 4 games, maybe 5 games. He's went crazy. And he is hitting it. He is popping off at the right time, and LAFC have a chance to still finish at the top of the Western Conference. So I think he's going to be in contention, but I agree with you. I think Messi's going to win it. He's got 44 goal contributions. He's going to be, he's second all time in most goal contributions in a season, only behind Carlos Vela with 49. I think he's going to win MVP again. I didn't know if he would if he hadn't at least won the Golden Boot, but because he's dominated and, like you said, no penalties in MLS this season, 26 goals in play, I think he's got it probably locked up.
That's what I think too. And it's going to be interesting, right? I mean, it stinks that he didn't get one more goal contribution tonight, because if he would have had 45 going into the final game, Messi is definitely able to get 3 goal contributions, as you saw tonight. I think it'll be tough for him to get 5 to tie the, to beat the record, but could he get 4, next Saturday to tie the record? And imagine that. Imagine he ties the goals and assist points record with Carlos Vela. He wins the Golden Boot. I mean, I think at that point, there's got to be no doubt that Messi is the MVP of this league.
Yeah, and he'll be the first player in history to win back-to-back MVPs. So that's very impressive. It's never been done before in 31 years of MLS. Maybe it's the third. I don't think this is the 30th. I think it's the 31st year in MLS. Maybe it is the 30th year. I can't remember. Maybe it is the 30th.
It's the 30th. I think it's
yeah,
30th.
It is 30th. Yeah, so 30 years, it's never been done before. So that is very, very impressive. You guys let us know. Do you think Messi's going to win MVP? Is it going to be Denny Bouanga, Anders Dreyer? Is it someone else? Who do you guys think is going to win MVP? Solana, this was a fun game. I didn't think it would be at first because of how, Angus, a member of the channel, says it is the 30th year. Okay, so it is 30th year of Major League Soccer. I didn't know if this game was going to be fun just because, there's a lot of uncertainties, but it was a fun watch. So I had fun watching this game. Do you have any final thoughts before we go?
No, man. I just want to say that, echo your thoughts on the game. I thought it was a fantastic game for Inter Miami. I think it was, how in college football, sometimes you play a team who's not up to your level so that you can get a little bit of confidence. I think that's exactly what this game was. It was a confidence booster for Inter Miami going into decision day, going into a big game against Nashville, a place where they've broken a lot of hearts in the past, and they have a chance to do it again on Saturday. So we'll see what happens then. Before I let you go, I'm going to put a link in the description for people to find your channel. This is football.
that you just recently brought back. But also, can you tell people where they can follow you at on Instagram or Twitter?
Absolutely, yeah. You can follow me at Dice El Dani. And just like Will said, you can follow me on at This Is Football Podcast. On X, we have a YouTube as well. My buddy and I, Nico, and we got to bring you on, Will. We got to bring you on one day.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, guys, listen, if you enjoyed this and made it to the end, make sure you give us a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. MLS Cup playoffs is right around the corner. MLS Decision Day is Saturday. A lot of stuff going on. Also, a Neymar video I'm probably going to drop on Monday talking about him coming possibly to Inter Miami. If it's good or if it's bad, if he does come, that's going to be on Monday most likely. You're not going to miss that. So make sure you subscribe, hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Make sure you go check out Solana's channel. This is football. Go follow him on X or Instagram. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the game of Inter Miami beating Atlanta United 4-0. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.